If they do that, the Cougars will be very, 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 very tough to beat.
Off the window, no. Roberts tried to get it. Shed for the win. Got it.
Just with 14 points, but you just look, the way that he dominated the game was in controlling the pace and making smart decision after decision.
Coleman, 5, slammer down.
Go to pizza spot before or after.
The dream is alive for Houston. Go Cougs! Let's go!
Welcome into another episode of Let's Rage Coogs presented by the Saxenian Family. We are coming off the heels of the Houston Cougars, the 15th ranked Houston Cougars, is a 78-49 win over Toledo. We'll get into the specifics of everything that happened between the Cougars and the Rockets. But before we do, joining me as always, Dayon Dunlap. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing great on this Wednesday night here, 9:11 p.m. locally, that we are recording this or streaming live on the Pod Slamma Jamma YouTube channel, the Houston Roundball Review YouTube channel, and on X as well. So wherever you may be listening, however you may be listening, welcome into the show. Feel free to comment, share your thoughts on the game, and let's get into the specifics with this game as the Cougars improve to 7-3. And we got to start with Terrence Arsenal because I think very clearly, Terrence Arsenal, top to bottom, had this best performance of the season so far. 16 points, 7 of 12 shooting from the field. He only took 2 threes, made one of them, 1 for 2 from the free throw line. And you know that this is definitely something that the Houston coaching staff, Kelvin Sampson specifically, is going to love. 9 rebounds for Terrence Arsenal in this game. Yep, a team high for Houston. 7 defensive rebounds, 2 offensive rebounds. So just an all-around great performance by Arsenal.
Also important, 0 turnovers.
Exactly. And a game that's really, they went to him a lot, especially early on momentarily when he kind of got thrust in there after Emmanuel Sharp had to exit the game momentarily. And, you know, kind of something that Ryan Hollins, who was doing play-by-play of the on the stream on ESPN Plus, said, but one of the things he mentioned is that every time Terrence Arsenal is on offense, he has the ball, it seems like he's always at his pace. He's never rushed, regardless what the defense is doing, and he put it on full display in this game against Toledo.
Yeah, he definitely did. He did put his full game on display. I'm not too sure about that. He's never rushed, but he definitely wasn't rushed tonight. He definitely was at his own pace. Just his timing was well. The most minutes he's played all season, so he looked well. I think I seen one instance where he maybe looked tired, but he still played through it, and so it was good to see Terrence have a well-rounded game like he did. I mean, when he caught the ball, he was decisive in his moves, his rebounding, his length, just his total package. I think he got the ball. He scored in different ways. It wasn't just a lot of isolation, and so he impacted the game in a multitude of ways. He looked good. I think that 4-guard lineup may help Houston play faster, and that's something Coach Sampson said that they were looking to do in practice. And I seen Milo's throw the go-ahead pass to kind of get the ball up to transition a little faster, and I think they did a good job of doing that.
Yeah, most definitely one of the areas that the Houston Cougars as a team did really well and quite frankly dominated against Toledo was the rebounding battle. It wasn't even close. Houston out-rebounded Toledo 50-29 as a team, 34 defensive rebounds to Toledo's 23, and 16 offensive rebounds for the Cougars to only 6 for Toledo, and that turned into 24 second chance points for Houston, top to bottom, a well-rounded effort for Houston. JoJo Tugler had 13 points, 3 rebounds in this game. Milo Zuzan got into double figures with 10 points. Got 5 rebounds himself, 4 assists, and Emmanuel Sharp had 13 points, was able to return after having an exit so early in the game. Didn't necessarily shoot the ball lights out, only 1 for 6 from downtown, but had stretches there where he was aggressive, attacked the rim, was able to get all the way to the basket for some tough finishes, was 4 for 4 from the free throw line. He had 5 rebounds himself, and it was interesting. And one of the other players that also had a great game was Malik Wilson, came in, provided a good spark, especially tonight without Ramon Walker. Had 10 points himself, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists for Malik Wilson.
Yeah, Malik played well. I think like I forgot what game it was, but he played it within himself today. I think that's the best way to say it. He played within himself today, and he didn't seem rushed. He was one of the players also I think played at his pace, but really did the things that he does well. He did that tonight, and I think when he does that and not making mistakes and looking over his shoulder, he plays his best. But the more or less that he was getting downhill using his list and athleticism, he definitely had a good game as well. And they're going to need that because in different moments, like games like this, when they can score, they don't have to worry about so much of scoring. They can stop their opponents. But against the stiffer competition that's to come in conference play, they're going to need Malik to play like he did tonight.
Welcome in Big Jack 512, who's joining us via YouTube on the stream. Definitely let's rage. And he says that JoJo playing with so much confidence is a beautiful thing to watch. One thing I do want to know before we kind of transition, but I mentioned Ramon Walker did not play in this game. The first person I saw tweeted out, Joseph Duarte of the Houston Chronicle, said that he injured his hand in practice, and that's the reason he was not available against Toledo. So I'm sure more will come out, if not in the post-game press conference today, certainly in the days to come. A semi-quick turnaround for Houston. They play again on Saturday against Texas A&M Corpus Christi in what is their final non-conference game of the season. Again, went by quick for Houston, so I'm sure we'll get more details about really the severity of Ramon Walker's hand in the coming days, if not by tonight after the post-game press conference. But yeah, where do you want to go? JoJo Tugler had a solid outing in really a game that was kind of interesting, where a lot of the bigs that were playing in this game got in foul trouble. Javier Francis and Cedric Lott specifically each had 4 fouls. JoJo had 3 himself, and Jawan Roberts didn't play much in this game. Only 10 minutes, put 4 points and 3 rebounds in those 10 minutes. And Kelvin Sampson, after the game during the ESPN Plus post-game interview, said that they decided to shut him down just in terms of he said he was a little banged up and decided to play a lot of the other bigs in this game against Toledo.
Yeah, I think I wanted to go Milos. I think Milos was in. I think I to talk more about the point guard. I think, what game was this? Game 10?
Yep, 7-3 now.
10 games in now. I think this is the first game. I wouldn't say the first game. I think in this game, I'll just say it like that, that he looked good. He looks comfortable. I think they're finding their chemistry. I think he didn't seem to be thinking as much. I think the practice time that they had and the break they had, and hearing Coach Sampson's last availability, I think he came out tonight and really put those things to practice into game. We're just pushing the ball up the pace, moving the ball, getting the ball up quicker, just trying to create more easy opportunities in transition. And I like what I see from him tonight. I think he played the most minutes, 35 minutes tonight.
Mm-hmm.
He only had 1 turnover, 4 assists, and he didn't shoot the ball well from the 3. Overall, he was 3 from 13. But you just look at his overall impact. I think he had that point guard like impact to kind of be able to set up others and just kind of have his role. And I think it's a good sign of him kind of settling in and kind of realizing what this team needs and figuring out how to be himself within that in the best way.
Yeah, and Kelvin Sampson left him in the game toward the final stretches, and he was trying to kind of find an offensive rhythm. He hit a 3 towards the end of the game, but I would definitely agree. Definitely seems much more comfortable. Still only just 10 games in, but he's about to get battle tested after Saturday's game. Once they get into Big 12 conference play, and just the whole team in general is going to get tested night in and night out, having to go through that so many opponents that they have in Big 12 conference play, the gauntlet, really that's to come for Houston. And really he's going to be a key player for the success of these Cougars, not only in conference play, but for their aspirations beyond once March rolls around. And obviously this is a team that they have their sights set on not only a conference title, but obviously the big one, a national championship. And he's going to play a key pivotal role if Houston is able to go all the way. And definitely it's heading in the right direction. He seems more comfortable, but they're going to need him for this team to succeed.
Yeah, they are. And I think with conference play coming up, him having experience that he's going to have with 11 games under his belt, I like where he's at. I like where the team is at. I think I really like what I saw today. I think now once he gets more comfortable and how he can see if he plays in space, it'll only kind of make the game easier for himself as well, pushing the ball up versus playing against a half court set defense each time in and time out. But JoJo, man, I think that's what even though he had foul trouble tonight and played
Hmm.
21 minutes, but in those stretches, it just you could see the way that he can cover on the court. Ron Hollis talked a lot about it in the different times how he's able to step out 25 feet and still get to the basket and block the shot. And and I like what I saw from them was a conscious effort to throw the ball to him on the block.
Yeah.
Coach Simpson said that in his presser during the week, and they threw a dance on the block to him a lot, and he made moves to try to score. And so I like seeing that as well. If he can continue to work on his low post game, be a low post threat with everything else he's going to bring on the court. I mean, it helps Houston to reach a natty or deep in a tournament or win conference or just be successful overall.
Yeah, and that was something that Kelvin Sampson had mentioned not only this week but in previous availabilities. Really, that at times, especially obviously when we're looking at the three losses that they suffered so far early during this part of the season, it has been when Houston kind of struggles to get the ball in the paint. And today, making that a concerted effort, something that hopefully can build confidence and for the bigs can build momentum. For JoJo specifically, if he can build some momentum heading into conference play, that's going to be a huge plus for Houston once they get into Big 12 tournament conference play.
And he got to play without fouling, though. I think
Yeah.
as hard as he plays, I mean, he got a lot better. I remember his freshman year, he would be in so quick and
Yeah.
foul so much. So he's definitely improved, but he's just so important. And especially as conference coming up speaking, he has to play without fouling and realize how the game is called and make that adjustment quickly because his energy and his tenaciousness to make plays and go after rebounds and block shots, not giving up on plays, just playing relentless. It could hurt him in that way, or overextending a little bit, reaching a little bit, and getting fouling or something like that. So he got to be more careful with that. But overall, I love his mindset. Yeah, he's confident in himself. And and that's what's the most thing that I've noticed with JoJo. He doesn't lack confidence. I don't care if it's
Mhm.
shooting a three, if it's wide open, if it's you just whatever. He plays with seems to play with an ultimate confidence on offensive end and defensive end. And when it all comes together and he can do it efficiently on the offensive end, he's gonna be scary. And but I think JoJo, I mean, he's definitely the center block of the team, no question.
Let's put a pause in it real quick. Like to thank every person there that's taking the time out of their Wednesday night to join us on this edition of Let's Rage Coogs, presented by the Saxenian Family. And of course, we'd also like to say thank you to Steve Saxenian for being a primary sponsor of not only tonight's episode of Let's Rage Coogs, but all season long, going back to September, actually going back to August 31st, when we had our first Let's Rage Coogs of the football season, all the way through the men's basketball regular season. So big thank you to Steve Saxenian for being a primary sponsor. And of course, we also like to say thank you to Star Pizza for being a secondary sponsor on today's episode with 3 locations throughout the Houston area. Star Pizza is your go-to spot before or after the game for some delicious pizza. They have a variety of different options, different crust, different styles, different toppings. Of course, they also have salads, pasta, a lot of different variety of options, and really, really good desserts on top of that as well. Be sure to visit them online at starpizza.net and follow them on social media at starpizzahou to see the different offerings that they bring to the table. And obviously, of course, they're constantly sharing new different deals throughout any of their locations. So big thank you to Star Pizza for being a sponsor on today's episode as well. To the YouTube comment sections, again, EI Crabtree 77 says a good defensive game held a
Yeah.
team that averages 77 points to just 49. And he did say offense continues to be a work in progress, but he liked the concept of playing through the front court. And that was definitely something that Houston was committed to. That was where they were looking to exploit Toledo. And for the most part, they did a good job in doing it in that way.
And the defense is really good. I watched a Butler team take UConn to overtime in Connecticut, and Houston played them at home when they dominated them defensively. So I think, matter of fact, I know Houston is a really, really good team defensively. Not a dominant team rebounding to go with that, like we've seen in years past. But defensively, they're one of the better teams. But great, like Crabtree, I think offense definitely is a work in progress. That's why I think I like the way Milo's kind of played in transitions when the time presented itself, and then in the half court, like you said, they play it through the front court with throwing it down low. And I think what that does, and not only it's a way to get the ball in the paint and collapse the defense. If you don't have a guard like Coach Center that can whap and get inside, then you throw it immediately in the block. And then, but you got to have great playmakers that can make those plays. And he raves about J1, and he is a great passer. And but tonight it was throwing and playing it through JoJo. And I want to see him. I think, can he make the right play, make the right passes if they go to him? And sometimes it isn't going to be there. They might come with the double, but I definitely think like playing through the front court. But also Terrence was playing like in that mid post area, so it's almost like a front court with his ability to kind of get to his mid range and post up because with his length and athleticism. And so I definitely like playing through the front court and without having a guard that can just penetrate.
What you see from Emmanuel Sharp in this game, like I mentioned earlier, he did have 13 points. Not necessarily a great shooting night, but not terrible either. 4 of 10 from the field. I think the 3-point shooting, obviously, we've seen much better performances from him. Only played 20 minutes, still got 5 rebounds. He said in the post-game interview that ESPN Plus also caught up with him after the game that he's used to playing tough, but obviously he had that stretch early in the first half, literally towards the beginning of the game, where he had to exit out. And just overall, what your thoughts and what you saw from Emmanuel Sharp in this game today against Toledo?
It was a solid game for Emmanuel. I think he did a good job defensively. I liked what he was doing in his rotations, and he rebounded the ball well. That's what Coach Sampson said. He's one of the players who has to do a better job in rebounding. He normally doesn't really single guys out. He didn't single them out. He just answered a question, but he normally doesn't do that. And so he did a good job rebounding. Three wasn't falling, but he still was able to um, get some offense with into the free throw line and making a couple shots. And so it was a solid game from Emmanuel. Not his best, but he still impacted the game and did well, even though LJ didn't have it as far as offensively making shots. And so he had a solid game. It was solid. But this Mr. Big Text comment.
Yeah, he says he thinks a bigger concern is Milo Zuzan. He says he's not seeing enough from him. There were lanes for him to attack, and like he would start and then like back out. He needs to figure it out real soon. From Mr. Big Text Co on YouTube.
I think I see. I know what he means. I think there are times in the half court or in pick and roll, different actions where it's a lane there if he attacked, but he kind of hesitates and like looks and so I know exactly what big takes means, but I think that's just not his game. I think we're so used to having a different guard who attacks that space and does that. But I haven't seen from him to if that's really just his game. I think he can do a better job of making a conscious effort to do that. But I think within that is moving the ball and making a smart play and making plays. I like what I've seen overall from, but I definitely know what big text means
And
and I
to be
agree.
fair, I think it also hasn't necessarily just been a Milo's problem. I think there's been a
Yeah.
handful of different players for Houston that kind of have that issue, especially again in those 3 losses against San Diego State, Alabama, and Auburn, where they've had opportunities. And again, it's just at times it's been a struggle for this team, Milo Zuzan included, and a lot of the other guards to be specific, that have just struggled in being able to consistently. They've shown it in spurts, but that consistently being able to attack the different lanes has been a little bit of an issue for Houston so far through these 10 games.
It has, and we've talked about it not having. Who's going to step up and break down the defense and be aggressive and do that because you got snipers and LJ Emmanuel, but sometimes, like tonight, your shot isn't always going to fall for you. But when you got the ball in your hands, how else can you penetrate out, generate offense? And so I think they did all around they need to have to. But I think that full guard lineup expand, especially if they can expand Terrence's minutes now. Now, when the game slows down, you can play through him more. He doesn't necessarily beat you off the dribble, but he can catch it in that mid post, pivot, isolate, and,
He could
and
get to the rim,
make a
most
good
importantly.
play. Right, he can get to the rim or just make a play for himself. And
Hmm.
so I think it's just gonna find different ways. It isn't gonna be like we're used to over the last few years. Really, over the yes, Cisco Sampson has been here. It isn't gonna be that would have a guard or a guards that can just break down the defense like that off the dribble. Like, wow. Yeah.
You mentioned LJ Cryer earlier in the show. 2 points, 1 of 8 shooting, 0 for 6 from 3, 27 minutes. He did get 4 rebounds, had 2 assists himself, and 0 turnovers in those 27 minutes. And Kelvin Sampson was asked about Cryer specifically after the game, and he downplayed the offensive struggle. He said he got a lot of looks that LJ normally makes, and was really focused on the defense. And again, the rebounding component that he brought to the table in this game against Toledo.
Yeah, but it was Toledo, so I didn't really look too much into that. That it was Toledo. Like you said, you're gonna need that like Crabtree just said, you're gonna need that in conference and in March. And so stuff like that, I didn't really take into because it's Toledo. I expected that.
Yeah.
But although the effort you have to give, it takes one. You got to nod your head, your cap to them actually going out and doing it. But you can see they get stiff for competition because this team has shown that they aren't a dominant rebounding team like Houston has had.
Yeah, Crabtree said guards rebounding and rebounding was much better overall. He mentioned Toledo isn't necessarily a great rebounding team, but the effort was there. 50 total rebounds, 16 offensive rebounds is solid. Like you just said, Dayon, they're going to need that in conference play and in March. Oh, with that being said, considering that we're one non-conference game away from Houston beginning Big 12 play, which tips off December 28th when they have to travel up to Oklahoma and play up
Stillwater.
there. And what do you are going to be looking for in this last non-conference game against Texas A&M Corpus Christi?
Man, really not too much. Just really, well, I say this. I'm going to be looking to see how many fast break points they can get, and that's the number. Any numbers I'm looking for, I'm looking at fast break points. Tonight they have 14-point fast break points. Against Texas A&M Commerce, I want at least 20. I think that's something that they can do and see if they can play more in transition because the offense is a work in progress. And I think in the half court you play through your bigs or play more in transition, just depending on the matchup. But I think playing in transition, getting more fast break points should be a point of emphasis because that can help your offense when you don't have to run the play against a set defense.
Yeah, which was something that Calvin Sampson mentioned at halftime. Really something that he wanted them to do throughout Toledo's play. I mean, really just turning the defense into more easy baskets on offense, consistently, and being able to, like you said, capitalize on that aspect, um, top to bottom. I think, and a lot of it would depend on health. But 10 games in, we're still kind of waiting for that Jawan Roberts game where he has a solid outing. And I mean, there's only one non-conference game left until they get into Big 12 play. And again, a lot of it depends on his availability. If he's able to be fully healthy and ready to go against Texas A&M Corpus Christi. But I'm curious to see what we see from Jawan Roberts and
You
really
haven't seen a dominant game from him yet, especially like a
exactly.
6-year player. Like ex- um, first team All Big 12, if I'm not mistaken, preseason, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And like we haven't seen that. And so if I see it against Tatum Commerce, I'll be like, okay, cool. Maybe he's gearing up for a conference. But like I'm wondering where it's at.
Yeah, and I mean he's going to be a key component as well for the success of this team. Really, obviously, to be able to provide at least a consistent offense. I don't want to say consistent offense, but just a reliable option down there for Houston, which hasn't been the case for a majority of the season, 10 games in. And then obviously the other intangibles, which I think this is the much more, I don't know if concerning is necessarily the right word, but there's been stretches, again, over the course of these first 10 games where even the rebounding hasn't necessarily been there from Jawan Roberts. So, again, only played 10 minutes in this game against Toledo. So, only one non-conference game left, and it'd be interesting to see if he is a full goal, does play about closer to regular amount of minutes against Texas A&M Corpus Christi on Saturday, what he's able to do, and really like you just so you can have some positive momentum heading into conference play, which begins December 28th, because going forward, the next 20 games are all going to be, I mean, it's going to be a gauntlet. They're all going to be dogfights.
Yep, 20 game schedule. Coach Sampson isn't happy about it. He said he and fellow coaches in the Big 12 are already meeting to see how they can change that and get it back to 18 to give the schedule more flexibility. But you're spot on. I mean, I second everything you said. I want to see J1 come on with it, and I expect it to. I think he will. I think he will. I think he's ready for the challenge, and I think he will. He still can have an all Big 12 year. It's right in front of him. Put it all together. I mean, he is who we think he is. He's got to come on and do it. I'm ready for it. He's deaf. Yeah, yeah. This comment right here was brutal, but yeah, I'm ready for it. I think he can step up, man. Got to stay healthy though. Got to stay healthy. I definitely want that for this team. Stay healthy.
And that's going to be the
There
that's
really
going to be
isn't much front court depth, but there's guard depth, and which gives you some versatility if something was to happen, foul trouble or anything like that. We're not even going to speak of any injuries.
Yep. Once again, real quickly, I'd like to thank first and foremost each and every single person that's taking the time out of their Wednesday night to join us on this episode of Let's Rage Coogs. Yeah, Crabtree, Mr. Big Texco, Big Jack 512. Even we had one. Yeah, thank you guys for joining us on this episode of Let's Rage Coogs, commenting on the show. Feel free to comment yourself on the show if you're watching, but haven't tuned in, chimed in. Let us know your thoughts about what you saw between Houston and Toledo. Once again, the final score from the Fertitta Center, 78. The Houston Cougars come out victorious, 78-49 on this Wednesday night. Terrence Arsenault led the team in scoring with 16 points on 7 of 12 shooting. Also led the team in rebounding with 9 rebounds. Of course, we also like to say thank you to our sponsors for today's episode of Let's Rage Coogs, beginning with Steve Saxenian for being a primary sponsor, not only on this episode of Let's Rage Coogs, but all season long. Big thank you to him, and also a big thank you to Star Pizza for being a secondary sponsor with 3 locations throughout the Houston area. Star Pizza is your go-to spot before or after the game. Be sure to visit them online at starpizza.net, on social media platforms at starpizza HOU, and check them out. Constant deals that they promote, and be sure to stop by on Tuesday or Friday during lunchtime for their all-you-can-eat pizza buffet, which is definitely worth it, and they provide a lot of different variety of options, including desserts during the buffet. That being said, I did mention earlier about Ramon Walker wasn't available for this game against Toledo after suffering a hand injury in practice, and we did get that update. This is coming from Joseph Duarte of the Houston Chronicle. He just tweeted it out, or made a post on X, whatever it's called now. That Houston guard Ramon Walker will undergo surgery on Thursday, so tomorrow, December 19th, on his hand, and is expected to miss 4 to 5 weeks, but he is expected to return this season and will return this season. But that's a tough blow to Ramon Walker. Is going to have to miss at least a month. So that'll be interesting. Obviously, we know all the intangibles that Ramon Walker brings to the table just when it comes to his toughness, rebounding, and defensive tenacity.
Yeah, definitely will be missed. The versatility that he brought, the toughness that he brought, everything, and so definitely gonna miss him. Hopefully, he has a healthy recovery first, then a speedy recovery so he can get back and help his guys. Because I know it means a lot to him to be with his guys, but he definitely gonna be missed. Definitely gonna be missed.
And this comment from Joe Mendes, he says, it'll be interesting to see who the hustle guy will be off the bench in his absence tonight. I don't think it was a handful of players, but I think Malik Wilson definitely did a good job of stepping in there and kind of being that for Houston today in this game.
Yep, agreed. I think it was Malik, along with Terrence, although Terrence started the second half. And so I'll be interested to see because he's one of those players not only brought rebounding, but he's gonna tough it up. He's gonna take the charge. Like he's gonna put his body on the line and make those hustle plays, like you said. So I'm ready to watch the see.
Well, that's pretty much going to do it for today's episode of Let's Rage Coogs. Again, big thank you to everyone that tuned in on this Wednesday night. A big thank you to our sponsors again, and Steve Saxenian, and a big thank you to Mike and Jennifer Pittman with Star Pizza for being sponsors on today's episode of Let's Rage Coogs. The Cougars return to action on Saturday, 1 p.m. tip-off from the Fertitta Center. Final non-conference game of the season for Houston when they take on Texas A&M Corpus Christi. So we'll be back on Saturday afternoon, evening, probably anywhere from around 3:30 rather, to discuss everything that happened between the Cougars and the Islanders as they gear up for Big 12 conference play. Big thank you again to everyone that joined us. And Dayon, I'll toss it over to you. Any final thoughts on this game and just anything in general you'd like to say?
Definitely shouts out to everyone who joined us first and foremost. We appreciate you guys for taking the time. Excuse me, if you was on for a minute, 2 minutes, the entire 30 minutes of the show, we appreciate it. Everyone who commented, we appreciate it, especially Crabtree, who's a regular. So shout out, appreciate you. But I'm looking forward to this team, man. I think this team still has a lot of promise. They're a good team. I think they can really continue to develop into a really good team and possibly a great team by the time March comes around. And so I was happy for a win. They're going to get another dominant win coming up here against Texas A&M Corpus Christi. And then I'm ready for conference play, and let's get it rolling. And as always, let's go Cougs.